Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to another edition of Danny and Stan's Football Weekend. Well, there certainly was a lot of exciting football to consume over the weekend, be it locally or, of course, a fantastic college football showdown between LSU and Alabama. But for our local folks and you local fans mostly, the exciting football only ended up in disappointment. Certainly yesterday for the Kansas City Chiefs, as somehow a game that they seemed to be destined to win all day long despite some twists and turns, they somehow threw away at the finish. And now we could officially say that the Chiefs are in a bit of a swoon. 4 losses in their last 6. Even the return of an electric Patrick Mahomes, who was making his magic again, wasn't enough to overcome run defense and a slew of bad mistakes for the Chiefs. For the Kansas State Wildcats, a fast start didn't add up to a victory as Kansas State saw Texas kind of take over the game, but to the Cats' credit, they hung in there and still had a chance at the finish. So a loss that can't really be said to be that disappointing in the whole, although a bit of one that got away. No second-guessing the Missouri Tigers loss. They just got clubbed by the University of Georgia. No offense whatsoever, and the Tigers are in free fall. They need a fast finish right now and another November rescue from Barry Odom, or there could be a lot of questions swirling around the Missouri Tigers. All that and a whole lot more football just ahead on Danny and Stan's Football Weekend here at DannyClinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent Podcast. We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is Where Integrity Matters. Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Sumner One is the company to make your office maximize efficiency. Their family of companies make up one of the largest independent dealers of office technology in the Midwest. They are proud to bring the best service and technology to top companies across the region. Sumner One can help your organization run more smoothly than ever. Sumner One printers, copiers, MFPs, managed print services, document management, infrastructure design, IT services, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Welcome to the one place where everything works. For more information, call Carl Little at 913-752-2256. I was duped, and I recommend you be next. For better or worse, the ultra-realistic impression of me sits now in my wife's office to spook her on a daily basis. So what is Doob? D-O-O-B. It's the keepsake of a lifetime, a 3D-generated, incredibly lifelike figurine. 66 cameras take an image at exactly the same moment in any pose, and state-of-the-art 3D technology transforms that into exact replicas of you, anyone you know or love, a pet, whomever is close to your heart. Create lifetime memories with a Doob. Visit their Facebook page at Doob 3D Kansas City, or better yet, see their incredible creations. Visit their location down on the plaza in the heart of it at 231 West 47th Street in KC Mo. Doob, be next. Stan, we had a lot of excitement and we had a lot of misery. So a combination of the two. Kansas City Chiefs yesterday, an almost inexplicable game, as I mentioned in the open. The Chiefs did so many things well. There was so much excitement. There was so much razzle-dazzle. But in the end, what it came down to is that in sports, sometimes you get kicked in the butt if you don't do some of the little things right. And that was really kind of the difference for the Chiefs, because over 500 yards of offense. Curtis Siebold on WHB did a stat today that There have been 92 games in the last 35 years where a team outgained the other team by 150 yards, had the ball but for more than 15 minutes more than the other team, even on turnovers. And in the previous 92, 91-1. The Chiefs were only the second team in the last 93 to do all those things, but they had drops, they made mistakes, they made penalties. This was kind of a thing that a coach, if this was an early season college basketball game, might kind of like about for his team, that they had to be shown that the finer points of the game weren't there, because this one seemed like an impossible game to lose all day long.
Well, obviously, the Chiefs had big chances, 3rd and 2, make a first down, it's over. You get a fumble scooped up in return for a touchdown. You hope that doesn't happen very often. It's been a problem a couple of games for the Chiefs that they've lost. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen again. You can take that away. And obviously, it was unbelievable what Patrick Mahomes could do. So I think you start with one theme and say, Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, are you kidding me? But I've been saying that for 2 seasons. You take away Tyreek Hill, I'm not so sure, because Patrick Mahomes went to Tyreek Hill all the time.
Yeah.
He had a safety blanket out there, okay? Because he's leaning back a lot on his throws. He's having to time things out. But
yeah, I almost said it was, dink and dunk Patrick Mahomes is kind of fun, too, because there was a lot of that in the game on Sunday.
He played great, but still, if you look at whenever he needed to make a play, he went to Tyreek Hill. So I still say the combo of them, hey, for those old people, Johnny Carson was great. No matter who his partner was, he was great. But Ed McMahon made him greater, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing against Johnny Carson because he's a superstar, but there was some chemistry that really added, and the Chiefs had that. But let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. This game is more about the opposite end of the spectrum for me, much more than the Chiefs' mistakes. Mike Vrabel coached the perfect game. He gave his team a chance to win when their chances were very low. Throughout the day, they were very low. At the end, obviously, tremendously low. I mean, I thought he might punt instead of go for 4th and 18 with the 3 timeouts. It worked out for him, but that's because the Chiefs botched the field goal. I would have punted the ball there. But other than that, he gave his team a chance to win. His clock management before the half was brilliant. And Tony Romo did a great job. If you listened on TV, he was exposing how you beat the Chiefs. Tony Romo was explaining what you've got to do, how you've got to be scared. Even if you have 23 seconds left on the clock, be nervous that the Chiefs might go down and get another field goal. It was well explained, but the coaching job was done even better. Matt Patricia is a Bill Belichick disciple. And I thought when the Detroit Lions played the Chiefs, their quarterback was throwing the ball well, so they threw. But they still laid out a lot of the things you need to do. It was Bill Belichick written all over it. There must be some phone calls being made about how do you beat the Chiefs. And Detroit stuck to a schedule that was pretty good. I think the Ravens will play them differently. I think the Ravens are way harder to beat than they were in Kansas City. They went to the pass too quick. I think they'll stick with the run. They have more confidence, and Lamar Jackson's a better passer. But at the end of the day, those 2 Belichick disciples have written the script that is the chance to beat the Chiefs. Now, that doesn't mean the Chiefs aren't great. It just shows you that your chances are slim when you're playing the Chiefs, that you got to do these things. But, Danny, we've been talking about this week after week after week. The Titans passed the ball 19 times. They ran the ball 26 times. There you are. I didn't think any coordinator had the guts to do it, to run more than you pass. And guess how they ran, Danny? They ran even when they were behind. Even when they needed to move the ball in situations where everyone's in a hurry, they didn't get in a hurry, and they still ran the ball.
Yeah, they got the ball with 8 minutes to go, or just over 8 minutes to go, and ran the ball down the field.
Right. And when you thought they had to pass, they stuck with the run. That's how you attack the Chiefs. So there is a blueprint out there that I don't know if everyone's buying in, but I will say the Bill Belichick disciples are buying into. And I think the Ravens are watching out of the corner of their eye of how they need to beat the Chiefs. So it scares me to play the Ravens in the playoffs. But let's talk about the other thing that I brought up in the Denver game, okay? The Chiefs have made adjustments to the run game. The Chiefs are ganging up on the run. Tyrann Mathieu is moving up to the line of scrimmage and getting an extra guy in a box all the time. We've talked about this week after week after week. You're not going to beat us with the run. And then we're going to watch out for bootlegs, passes in the flats. We're not going to let our linebackers get put in one-on-one situations. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo is doing a good job of learning from what happened the week before and adjusting. When the Packers put him in a bind, he did not adjust quick enough. He let his linebackers get out on an island, and the Chiefs lost the game against the Packers, partially because of that. That didn't happen the next week against the Vikings. They didn't take that bait. So he's made all kinds of adjustments. But there's always a trade-off. And here is the trade-off. We've already spoken about this. This is not new information. When the Denver Broncos ran a running play and got tripped up and had an 8-yard run, I told you, Danny, that it would change the dynamics of the whole game. If he wouldn't have been tripped up at the line of scrimmage, he was gone because there's only one wave of Chiefs. They're at the line of scrimmage. They're doing a great job of stopping the run. But you must understand there's only one wave, and after that, it's a home run. Now go watch the Titans video. You can say, our free safety missed a tackle. He never whiffs. Okay, you can talk about that. I'm telling you, the Chiefs, when they were blocked at the line of scrimmage, when the Titans busted one and went 70 yards for a touchdown, that is at risk all the time. It could have happened against the Vikings. It could have happened against the Packers, and it could have happened. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, don't be surprised. The Chiefs are selling out to stop the run. Now, it's a compliment to the secondary that they're not getting beat up all over the place because you'd think, that means you got too many guys at the line of scrimmage. That means it's man-to-man. It's predictably man-to-man on the outside, or the zones are limited with players who can get there, but they're not being attacked that way. And my point here is it's great for the Chiefs. It's a great compliment to the secondary that they're not getting beat up, even though they're put in a tough situation, down after down. The players up front are being protected with more guys and makes them all look better. I also said confidence is a big factor. I said the defense isn't that much better. It's just that they think they're better from the Denver game. But when someone punches them in the mouth and teaches them again, they're the same old Chiefs just doing a little different strategy, then watch out. And that's what the Titans did. The Titans busted through, and you can keep taking 2-yard runs and 4-yard runs against the Chiefs, and everyone can say the Chiefs' defense is great. I'll say, yeah, good adjustment, but if they bust it through, it isn't a 15-yard run. It's likely a home run. The Titans got the home run. Then they started getting the 6-yard runs, then the 10-yard runs, and the Chiefs' defense started looking around again going, who's going to stop the run? Why are we good? Will this carry over? Have they been exposed? Has that wound been reopened? The scab been scratched off? I'm not ready to say that, but I said in a Denver game, this is what happens if you bust through the line. That should have been a 15-yard run against most teams in the NFL. The Chiefs are selling out in the run, and it left the Titans a chance. Hand it to Vrabel to just keep sticking it in there, keep believing in his guy, because he might have ended the game with, 82 yards rushing on 1 million carries, and everyone says you didn't beat the Chiefs, and he would have said, yeah, I know. But the reason why he did beat the Chiefs is he kept going, and suddenly they busted the home run, broke the Chiefs' confidence a little bit, stuck with the run, managed the clock to beat the Chiefs, to keep Mahomes on the sideline. It was poetry in motion. Now, it still took miracles for the Titans to win, but for them to have the guts to play the Chiefs that way was unbelievably cool. Well, not cool. It's a bad word for me because the Chiefs lost.
Right.
But, I mean, to see someone stick to the formula and get it done. And I just think the Patriots are going to have a formula that will work against the Chiefs, and I think the Ravens are going to come back with a good formula as well. That's the thing that scares me deep into the playoffs.
The teams are so afraid of the Chiefs, however. I mean, the Titans, even after they scored with 24 seconds to go, or 23, whichever it was, they still almost botched it. I mean, they squib-kicked, and so the Chiefs got the ball at the 38, and then they rushed 2 guys. I mean, if Patrick Mahomes is going to stand back there for 7 or 8 seconds, he's going to find somebody 20 yards down the field. I mean, I just couldn't even believe. I couldn't even believe that.
Yeah, because I bragged him up so much. I shouldn't say a perfect game. I should. That
could have been just a coordinator.
Those are bad decisions. Those are bad decisions because Patrick. When I saw 2 rushers and he is going to find somebody.
Right.
With 9 defenders, he's got guys with speed. He'll find them. We saw last year in the Ravens' 4th down play. He can throw it up for grabs because that ball was just thrown to an open area. Remember that the 4th down, and Tyreek just said, "I can get there."
Right.
So they can always do that. And Hardeman has the speed to go do that. And so the Chiefs got weapons, man. It's incredible on the offensive side. It was bad. The squib kick was either a bad decision or really badly executed. You can't kick it right down the middle to a guy to scoop up. I would have kicked it off. And like you said, they were going to complete a pass and get into field goal range. As soon as you just can't do that with Patrick. But it's just unbelievable. Patrick Mahomes is unbelievable out there. throwing the ball around.
Where did you feel like he
situations.
was? Tony Romo really was at the outset of the broadcast. He was pretty, straightforward that he didn't think Mahomes was really that right. Now, Mahomes is good enough because he has such great arm strength to, be able to do. But I think the problem with the 3rd and 2 play call, for instance, at the end, was that they called a play where there was really a run option for Mahomes, but he wasn't going to run. I mean, unless it was just like wide open, and he slid, and that was the right thing to do, squirt the clock, you got a reliable kicker, so on and so forth. But where did you think he was as far as percentage-wise with his ability to move around?
I think that one of the things that Patrick Mahomes does that Andy Reid asks him to do is throw to the open receiver and trust all the guys. And because they have so many good weapons, because he shows trust in them, from Andy on down right to Patrick, it seems like they make the catches. You saw Byron Pringle make an unbelievable catch inside the 10. They make it look like, why wouldn't I? Because when people believe in you. So his style is to drop back, find out where the coverage is, and throw to the open guy. And it doesn't matter if it's a sausage or whoever, right? He didn't play that way. So if you add a little bit of what Tony Romo said, and Tony's saying he's just a little bit off of his complete comfortable feeling. He probably doesn't want people at his legs. He put himself in a position, I thought, leaning back a little bit, relying on arm strength, and wasn't just sitting in there rolling through and firing the ball as much. He could do that because he went to his guy. And I think there's a correlation here. What Romo said, I'm not going to say he's right or wrong, but let's just for a moment assume Romo's correct on this, because he may have talked to him. I mean, he gets to talk to him, and he doesn't have the coaches hanging over. I mean, he can grab him and say, hey, what do you really think?
Right.
So who knows? Romo wouldn't say where
he said
what
that.
his source is.
Right.
Okay? But Romo, let's just say that Romo knows what he's talking about, because that's a pretty simple statement. He usually does. I would say I would go along with Romo in this. All the time he was throwing kind of off his back foot, lofting it over people, dropping it in a hole where only one guy could go get it, the superstar, Tyreek Hill. So my point, Danny, is he didn't look like a guy who was indifferent and firing the ball to whoever was open.
Right.
He looked like he was saying, you know what, I don't want to get hit, and I can get the ball to Tyreek right now. So let me throw it to him. I know he's reliable. I can throw it I can speed him up. He's got a mile an hour. We know he can run, 22, 23 miles an hour? Well, he can go from 15 to 23 at any variable. I mean, you can throw it behind him, he'll stop. You can throw it high, he'll jump. I think that Patrick leaned on him more, and that might be the defining thing of, hey, my knee didn't feel 100%, so I went to my reliable guy, threw every kind of pass, could put more air under it. You could be so indifferent throwing it to Tyreek, and he'll make you look right. So maybe there is something in there. But at the end of the day, who's going to criticize him for throwing to Tyreek Hill too much?
No.
Not me.
Nope, absolutely not. Now going forward, I think with Andy Reid, you always get the mixed benefit. I mean, he's such a good play caller. He's such a, and then the clock management always gets, probably overemphasized. But it's important. It's not his strength. It's just the loose ship he runs creates a good atmosphere with the team. The players clearly embrace it. But it does rise up and bite them every now and then, because yesterday was a no attention to detail game for the Chiefs, I thought.
Well, he has stated, and he doesn't say much, he's very good at not saying anything to the media, but he has said penalties have been a problem. And so that wasn't a problem against the Vikings, but it has been.
Right.
So whatever causes the penalties that keep the Chiefs from scoring a touchdown and kicking a field goal instead, or keeping a drive alive, that's big. The special teams breakdowns were pretty bad. I mean, just ridiculously bad in this game. But I don't think that's going to be something that happens game after game. So, I wiped that out. The fumble by a running back, you can always be upset about fumbles. But I just don't think it's – if you said, tell me about the next 4 games, well, I don't at all scratch my head and go, ooh, one of those 4, there's going to be a scoop and score by the –
Right.
I think that could be cleaned up so easily. It's somewhat random, okay?
Right.
So I'm not going to worry about the fumble. I'm not going to worry about special teams problems with the Chiefs. So now we've gotten to the point of, are the penalties a problem, and in what sense are they? You could argue that the offensive line's beat up, and that's going to cause a little bit more grabbing. It's going to cause tight ends to be in situations where they may have to block a little bit more. Running backs may have to pick up different blitz pickups because the offensive line's strategy changes. So I do think that's an issue up there. I do think the Chiefs' defense is an issue, and if they start reaching and grabbing and hoping, it can cause problems. I've said for now 2 or 3 weeks, I don't think I said it with you yet, Danny, but I definitely said it with the guys on the morning show, the Border Patrol. The Charger game is such a giant game because it's in Mexico City. And for the Chargers, that's an advantage. It's a letdown to play in that little soccer stadium with the other team's fans there, and you have no home field advantage. You have a home field disadvantage, and you're a little rookie stadium. I mean, for them to play at Mexico City, 100,000 fans, Monday Night Football, I think it'll get the best of the Chargers. And the best of the Chargers gives them a chance to beat anybody. Anybody. New England, the Chargers have the ability to match up with anybody on one
wiped out
given
Green Bay
night.
They just wiped out Green Bay a couple of weeks ago.
For one game. Are they reliable? No. They aren't. But I look at if the Chiefs are the big bad bully and the one you can count on, if we're watching an animal show, you've got the big animal. How do the big animals ever lose battles? If you watch one of those shows, it's when the little ones kind of jump on them and somehow gang up and attack the right parts of the body. I don't know. I don't watch that animal. I watch sports, not Animal Kingdom, but I've seen it, Danny. The Raiders-Chargers combo is what could knock the Chiefs off. The Raiders have an easy schedule. Okay? The Raiders are probably going to lose to the Chiefs in Arrowhead. That'll hurt them. They'll lose the tiebreaker. They'll have another loss. But the rest of their schedule is easy enough that they might win a lot of games. So how can the Chiefs blow it when they're the best team and they're going to beat the Raiders head-to-head? How could you possibly not win the division?
To the Chargers. We've been saying
twice. Maybe lose to the Chargers. Right. Once, maybe twice. But momentum-wise, the Mexico City game is much more than one game.
Right.
Because you didn't look over your shoulder at the Raiders. I mean, if you're Andy Reid, when he's looking down about what's going on in the world, he's trying to fix this and he's trying to fix that, and he truly is doing the, take care of your own house and you'll be fine. He hasn't looked over. He's laughing like the Raiders aren't going to catch us. We're better than them, and we win all of our division games. But, Danny, you get Patrick Mahomes back and you lose to the Titans after you've lost to the Packers, and suddenly there's a little bit of a bad streak in here. How about if you have Patrick Mahomes back and you lose 2 in a row? What happens if, since Patrick Mahomes got hurt, you've lost 3 of 4? Now, we don't make that correlation very quickly because we're going, Patrick Mahomes, he's great. He's no problem. He had nothing to do with losing to the Titans. But what kind of question marks are going to be around the team if the Chargers beat the Chiefs in Mexico City? Even if the Chiefs beat the Raiders, the division's up for grabs. And I never thought that was going to be said. I still think the Chiefs win their division games. They go on. But that Chargers game is a variable because I don't know what version of the Chargers are going to come out. When their running back, Gordon, didn't show up at the beginning of the year, just like Ezekiel Elliott, it was a defining portion of what was going to happen at the beginning of the year. They weren't ready to play.
Right.
They weren't. They were not regular NFL players. They were training camp players, okay? And they looked that way for 3, 4 games, 6, 7 games, whatever it is. Gordon hadn't looked like himself all year. He's looked like an average to below average back until you watch the last couple weeks. Uh-oh. The explosiveness there, the hitting the holes is there. Now you got a running back. It's not all Phillip Rivers. There's a running back who could run the ball against the Chiefs. Now Phillip Rivers has a new offensive coordinator. He may audibilize so the coordinator doesn't matter, but he might actually stick with some running plays. And how do you want to attack the Chiefs in Mexico City? You want to run the ball. So I think this game is very interesting because of the site at where it is. I think there'll be a cleansing feeling for the Chargers of not only do they have a chance to make a race out of it, that Mexico City is a unique, once-in-a-lifetime experience, and they have no home games. This is going to feel great to them. So let's see if the Chiefs can put it together. I expect a very close game. I don't think it ruins the Chiefs' season, but I do think the Raiders are going to be helped. The Raiders need help, and the Chargers are their friend. So the Mexico City game is big. The Chiefs win that one. I think they're home free. They'll be back to winning the division. And before we get all negative, you know what? On any one given Sunday, the Chiefs can beat anybody. They can win the Super Bowl still.
No doubt.
All I have to do is clean up a few things, have a good day on defense, which can happen. Chris Jones do a little craziness in there, and just have Patrick go off, and they can beat anybody. So we don't have to be negative, but the positioning of where they're going to be in the playoffs is looking different. But you sure don't want to not win the division.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about some not so good and some halfway good and some other things in college football when we return with Danny and Stan's Football Weekend right here on the Reasonably Irreverent Podcast.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Looking for a truly unique escape from your normal entertainment or corporate team-building regimen? Stay tuned for an exclusive offer only for Reasonably Irreverent listeners. I'm excited to tell you about an extraordinary destination, the Exit Room, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Lee Summit. The Exit Room is a distinctive entertainment option that offers a cool alternative to the normal couples night out, family get-togethers, and corporate team-building events. The Exit Room is a one-of-a-kind boutique escape room catering to special occasions and corporate team-building events and is unmatched in the Kansas City metro. With 5 individually designed and varied escape room adventures, your party or employees can unplug from their electronic world, interact with one another, match wits, and ultimately escape the humdrum of the ordinary. The Exit Room adventures cross decades and centuries and create fascinating fun. I know the owners well. They are local folks, their staff is warm and friendly, their lobby is inviting and beautiful, and their adventures are award-winning. Check online. There are over 1,000 reviews, and note that they are a rare 5-star ranked business. Visit their website and Facebook page, and any of my listeners who books online at theexitroomkc.com using the promo code ClinkScale19 gets 10% off any ticket purchase. The Exit Room in Lee Summit. Unplug, interact, and escape.
There's no need to get a case of the Mondays every week, not during football season anyway. Hey, this is Matt Llewellyn from the 23rd Street Brewery, and we are the place for Monday Night Football. Food and drink specials every week, and all new televisions always at 23rd Street Brewery. The hardest thing about Mondays now will be getting through the workday, although waking up on Tuesdays might be a little bit tough. But remember, watch all the Chiefs games, NFL games, every game at the 23rd Street Brewery.
Are you thinking of starting a new business? Does your current business feel stuck? Or are you just trying to grow what you already have? Running a business is a lot of work, and it takes the right team to make it all happen. If you're looking to grow your business, call my friends Ben and Greg over at Fuego Consulting. They put together a company that can help you reach your business goals. Whether you're looking to get online, build a social media strategy, or rebrand your business, they can help. Call Fuego at 816-663-9695 or visit them online at fuegoconsulting.com. Fuego Consulting. Let's grow your business together.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
College football this weekend. We'll get to the locals in a minute, but of course the big college football game of the weekend was LSU and Alabama, and it sure didn't look like your daddy's SEC ball game, that's for sure. 33-13 at the half, and you figure, LSU's just their day. They're great today, and they did still mostly have control. They were always ahead by a score. They responded when Alabama scored, but that was modern football, even in the SEC, even with great athletes on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, you said it right there, Danny, because we've talked about the pockets of defense that have occurred, and we'll get to that here in a little bit, I'm sure, about the local teams, the Missouri Tigers and Georgia. But, the NFL showed us that the best of the best get after it on offense, and now we're seeing it in college football as well, because we have no reason to disrespect Alabama or LSU in how they play. They've got plenty of NFL talent on the defensive side. It's just when you got good offense, it beats good defense. And Nick Saban's totally bought into it now, has a quarterback in Tua who can get it done. But LSU deserves so much credit because they went out at a game and they have no correlation to what it takes to beat Alabama. They've been dominated.
Yeah, they
and
lost
the kids
8 in a row.
Juniors have lost 2 times to Alabama. That matters. That intimidation matters. And you're on the road. For them to wipe that clean and go, no, this year's team's all that matters. That's easy for the coaches to do. It's not so easy for the players to do. And to go out and jump out 33-13 and play at a high level, wow. And then it's even harder when they make a run at you. When Alabama makes a run at you and really pressures you, for them to midway through the fourth quarter see, we're only up a score. We were up by 20. Usually in college football, the team trying to catch you goes ahead and passes you. with that momentum. And then LSU said no, and I think they might have twice.
Yes, twice.
Said, no, Alabama. I know you think you're only 1-3 and out and get the ball back, but no, we're going to move the ball down the field. That's incredible. It's incredible what LSU's been able to do this year. Beating a Texas team that had all the confidence in the world early in the year on the road, beating Alabama on the road. They've done a very nice job. Now, how we evaluate Alabama is something that's going to be hard, and I'm not going to feel comfortable with because the College Football Playoff Committee, it seems to me like what your team's name is has mattered way too much. And Alabama hasn't, however it's worked out, they haven't played anybody yet this year. So you can always say, if we had to do this, Danny, and we're in a committee, we can always say, well, those Alabama athletes look better than other people's. Well, you know what? That's just unfair. You can say that if that's what you're going to do and say, we know they have the 5-star recruits. We know they're going to get drafted in the NFL, and therefore they're a playoff team. I mean, that does not seem fair.
I don't think it's fair either from the standpoint of the fact that they hadn't played anybody. Then they play somebody, and they got run off the field
at home
for a lot of the game at home. And, they did stage a comeback and make it look better. But let's face it, on this day, LSU was the better team, clearly. And still, and now they won't really play anybody else
until Auburn.
And
they'll get to put an exclamation point on the season. They'll go out and beat Auburn by 3 touchdowns and dominate them physically, and then they don't have to play in the championship game because they're not even a division champion.
Right.
And then you start going around and saying, well, since that LSU game, Alabama's just really kicked it in gear, and those kids are playing at – I can hear Kirk Herbstreit now. They're just playing at a whole nother level now. Well, plug in Ohio State's name and Alabama's name and Free Pass City. So we just should not have them in the college football playoff if they don't. Yeah, it's hard to say compared to other teams. If everyone else does their business, don't tell me why Alabama's better. Make these games matter. The regular season's supposed to matter, and Alabama has 4 non-conference games. The SEC's the baddest, Danny. They're the bad dudes. Well, you know what? They're the conference that isn't playing 9 conference games. They got 4 non-conference patsies they beat up on, and Alabama did not play a good schedule. I just hope they don't get rewarded.
Right.
And that means they got to get beat twice. You got to kill the bug. If everyone plays, the Oregons of the world, the Utahs of the world, please let me see them in the playoffs, and don't reconcile if one of those teams wins out and has 1 loss why Alabama's athletes are better than theirs. No lie. I know they're better. They are. If that's how we're going to define it every time, it's totally unfair. Look at what happened in the regular season. At some point, the math's got to matter. Your strength of schedule, what you did, and everything else. So I hope this is a damaging blow to Alabama unless the rest of the country
doesn't do their job.
Their toe and lets Alabama back in. But I don't think it's best when you have 2 teams from the same conference, when you don't have a division champion in there. It worries me that the playoff is losing a little bit of its luster because there seems to be a free pass for at least Alabama and probably Ohio State.
Yeah.
And Ohio State shouldn't have – they won a national championship in the first year of the college football playoff, and they shouldn't have been in. Should have been TCU or Baylor. Well, they won the championship. Why shouldn't they be in? Well, yeah, they're going to win the champ. I didn't say they weren't the best athletes
team, right.
with the best coach. It's just they didn't deserve to be there.
Right.
If we're going to reconcile, we just will let Ohio State and Alabama take 2 of the slots. If Clemson keeps recruiting the kids there, let them take 3 and say, we have 1 at large for the rest of the country. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
A little bit of frustration here because I just see down the road that they're going to look at how hard they fought in the second half and all of that. So, hey, credit to LSU. Man, that is big time for them to do that.
Let's talk about K-State and Texas. Cats jump out, look great early on. And to Texas's credit, they just sort of shrugged that off and came back, and they were the better team to the rest of the way. And they had way better stats, et cetera. Credit to K-State for not just letting that avalanche overcome them completely. They got the kickoff return. They held Texas at bay enough, and they had their opportunities. In the end, I would say you'd have to say Texas deserved to win the game. The K-State players feel like, well, we let one get away because they felt like look how good we played at the beginning. We should have been able to keep that all day long. So kind of a difficult game to assess. No reason for K-State to have their dauber down about it. Texas, I think we can come out of that game saying they're better, but K-State still put up a great fight.
Yeah, I look at the game against Oklahoma State when K-State lost and Baylor, that some people have said, well, I'd like to see those replayed because I think K-State would turn turn it around. And that may happen, but I also say you're going to play a lot of close games, and I don't want to replay the TCU game. I mean, TCU and K-State was dead even, and you got one of the three, okay? Right. And then anytime you beat Oklahoma, you just say, don't replay that game. Mississippi State on the road. I mean, you got to take them all, right? The good and the bad. I think at the end of the day, there's no reason for K-State to be upset at all. You're going to play close games, and like an NFL team, you just got to shrug it off. And you can't in college because there's only 12 games, and you led 14-0 and all that. But when K-State led 14-0, I knew Texas's offense is such a strength. They're coming back. The thing that just happened to be kind of that rock, scissors, paper little game was that K-State couldn't run against Texas.
Period.
The fact that they almost won the game, and they sure didn't lose it, because Texas ran out the last 6:45 and made some really good plays and got lucky of how it sequenced at the end. If K-State would have got the ball back and thrown an interception or something, then you'd get mad. But it just happened in a timing. It's like playing tennis and not getting the extra serve. You know, they got a overtime and you only get one shot. Like New England scored against the Chiefs. You don't think the Chiefs might not have gone back and scored? So I don't think you can feel bad for K-State. There was 3rd and 14. Second best in the nation, third down defense, K-State in conversions, 25%. Fifth best in the country conversion offense at 54%, Texas. That was the war right there. And Texas won it. You know, the receiver is leading receiver in the country, and a quarterback that's a gutsy quarterback completed the ball on the sideline, kept the drive alive. If they would have punted there, 3.5, 4 minutes left, K-State might have gone down and won the game. But at the end of the day, here's the difference. When K-State's playing you, and it's an even game, the one thing that would tip the scale K-State's way is if they're able to run, then they're probably going to dictate to you enough. Great compliment to K-State quarterback Skylar Thompson, Courtney Messingham, the coach, and the receivers that people don't seem to think are good enough for K-State. They threw on Texas. That's what you got to do against Texas. Skylar Thompson threw for more yards than he has in any time in his career. So K-State adapted, but it's harder for them to win that game than if they can run. And the reason why they couldn't run is this is the fourth team this year, almost half of Texas games. They played 9. 4 of the 9 opponents have not got 100 yards rushing. So it's not good to be fighting that group up front. That's where they're strong. Their linebackers aren't great, fast, experienced guys. They're big, strong, inexperienced. One's a junior college transfer, but at this level, you want to run and they'll smack you. You want to pass, they'll have a little more problem. K-State couldn't get to the running game. But remember, they're basically relying on a third-string running back. They got by with that against Kansas, rolled up 342 yards, 60 carries, and everyone said, oh, who cares if you have your starting back or not? And if your second-string guy's not really healthy, who cares? Well, Danny, against Texas, you end up with 50 yards or so rushing when you're trying to pound your third-string guy. And I'm not bashing him. I'm just saying, what do you expect?
Right.
Because K-State needs a combo. And Jordan Brown, the second, did play. But it's hard to run against Texas. K-State didn't have James Gilbert in there. And hand it to Texas. They matched up well. If K-State could have ran, then I think they would have found a way to win. It still was a toss-up game, but there's no reason why you wouldn't give Texas credit and say nice win. There's no reason. Just like in Mississippi State, they were ahead of K-State by 7 points. But K-State timed it out with the kickoff return and the offensive sequencing and kind of beat Mississippi State right at the right time. And K-State was never embarrassed to say, we deserve to win the game. So Texas should just say, we deserve to win, but I can't be down on K-State. Right. I don't look at it as a 14-point loss of a lead because as soon as we scored, I take my headset off and I say to Wyatt, this game's going to go right to the end. The timing of the scores don't really matter unless Texas just took off and started dominating. But if K-State got ahead, it's going to all even out. We're going to see what happens at the end. But what a gutsy play. The guys who are on special teams, Danny, for K-State, they do such a great job. But to have the intestinal fortitude to have a bad play, which rarely happens, but Texas got a 50-yard punt return against them. Didn't house it, but 50 yards against K-State's a big deal. That doesn't happen very often.
Right.
And Texas scores soon after that. Those same guys are the ones that have to trot out on the field, have not returned one kickoff all day because every one of them went in the end zone. Yet they were ready, and they had the composure not to look back about how they stunk on this other play, to go hit their blocks. They got one kickoff return all day, and they took it to the house for a touchdown when they were down by 10. I mean, that's incredible, the way K-State fought back. So a lot of positives. You hate to lose it, but how can you can't change that much about it. Just Texas's day, barely.
Well, Missouri is maybe in some ways a more intriguing story point right here, but because you expected them to lose to Georgia. Okay, it was likely they were going to lose to Georgia. They were a 7-point underdog. They lose by 27. Hey, it's been worse. I mean, you could lose 49-7 and it would look worse. But there was never a game. I mean, there was never any doubt that who was going to win the game. Missouri couldn't do anything offensively. You can say that Kelly Bryant was out, but they haven't been very good with him anyway. So, but now this season has gone to hell in a handbasket, basically, and you got Florida, and it's a total circle the wagons situation. And now, from a situation where we thought that Missouri had shaken off the Wyoming loss, run off the victories, poised to go 7-1, whatever. Hey, this is going to be a 9-win season. And now it's Barry Odom on the hot seat time again. And, it's just unfortunate for the Tigers, but they didn't do anything about it on Saturday in any way.
No, there's two things that are going on right now. There's one on the field, which is the most interesting to me, and there's the one that's off the field. The one off the field is that the alumni, the money people, are in the ear of the athletic director, not because they're bad people. The athletic director goes and finds them. There's a lot of big suites over there, and it's called the suite level, and that's where people congregate and talk. So it's not at all jerk alumni coming and going, we got to fire this coach. It's just the normal conversation. And, Danny, Mizzou has not played at home forever.
Right.
It's been a whole month.
Yeah.
A month in football season, and the weather's turning a little cooler here, and Florida's coming to town. When they're in the suites and looking down, what's the attendance going to be like? How many of the students are really going to be enthusiastic to cheer for the old Tigers? How many fans are going to make
have taken
the
off
drive?
for Thanksgiving? Oh, not quite then.
Yeah, but
not quite yet.
Not yet, but I'm just saying that's one thing that's going to be hovering over the Odom story is that people just kind of say football season's over for me. I'm so upset. And I really don't need to drive to Columbia to watch this game. I know how this is going to turn out. We've lost forever. It's just not a good environment for the AD to look down and go, instead of having, what does Mizzou draw? Is it 60,000?
Yeah, and they haven't
something
been
like
really,
that.
Yeah.
What happens if there are 40,000 fans there?
Right.
Against Florida, where if it were October 5th, beautiful weather, earlier in the season, Mizzou's undefeated. I mean, the place you'd get up to, your 70,000 or whatever you can get in there right now, an enthusiastic crowd. I just think the crowd might just write this one off early. Now, I don't think that has anything to do with what happens on the football field, because the one thing you can say about Mizzou is they've been a different team at home. And that is not great to have that kind of differential. No one asked for that. It doesn't make any sense. But when you're playing Florida and it's this week's game, I will buy into it. They play different with the dark jerseys on. And so that gives them a chance. Florida always comes in here and plays poorly. I don't know if they think it's freezing cold, it's an easy game, it's no respect, there's not enough fans in the stands. I don't know. But Florida looks like a shell of themselves every time they play against Missouri when they're on the road. At home, they haven't looked great.
No.
It's been, why does Missouri lose to Kentucky every time? Why does Missouri lose to Georgia every time but once? And then beat Florida all the time. There's something to it. So I think on the field, Missouri has something to lean on. Home game, adrenaline will be flowing when you're scared of getting rolled. But how about the defense, Danny? They played great against
they
Georgia.
Were put in bad situations all day.
Their offense was likely to be 3 and out. It's been a long time since you've been to a college football game where it's more likely they're 3 and out than scoring. I look at some stats. There are teams that, a normal 3 and out for a whole game is like 1 or 2, Danny.
Right.
For everybody. Everybody gets first downs. Most teams move the ball to the 50, right? But Mizzou had no chance with the second-string quarterback and the offense, what's going on. Third-string quarterback in there. They weren't going to move, and Georgia's defense was great. So if you predicted a shutout in modern football, you have to be an idiot. But that was a game where you might say, I don't know how Missouri's going to score.
Right.
And they did get down there one time and maybe could have scored with a field goal. So now we get to this game. I think the defense really showed something, that they played at a very high level.
They didn't quit.
You can slow Florida down.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what do you do on offense? It's home. I'm just saying this could be a game. I really do think. Don't write it off, but that game inside the game to me is what is going on in the stands. What's the enthusiasm? Out of sight, out of mind, Danny, is a bad thing in today's society for sports. Everyone is finding reasons not to go. Alabama is worried about their students coming to the game. and for fans staying. Alabama. So it's everywhere. They have interests that are different. They want to look at their phone, the fans do, not just the students, all of us, and say, well, why do I want to be here? We're going to get killed by Florida, etc. What's the enthusiasm level going to be? If Missouri fights for a long time and then loses by 17 on kind of some late fourth quarter stuff, but only 40,000 fans are there, what's the day going to be remembered as? For the people that were physically there,
bad loss.
It's like, I knew we were going to lose today.
Right.
And you take away the great excitement of college football. Having all those home games in a row was kind of cool, but being away for a month ended up being pretty damaging. And guess what? The enthusiasm better pick up, because the big game, in my mind, I've been pointing to for a long time, Volunteers coming in.
We're playing better.
They beat Kentucky. They're just one of those middle-of-the-road teams, but they're playing better. They don't usually play well in Columbia, on the road, all those things, but you can't afford to lose to those guys.
Right.
Now, Arkansas,
Who knows?
against Arkansas, I would just play the defensive guys on offense and say, we're going to go both ways, and we're going to smash these guys, because they got killed by Western Kentucky at home.
Yeah,
so there's no way Missouri's losing to Arkansas, Danny.
That,
no way.
That game would be probably a fireable offense to lose. I mean, I think it probably,
I think
would be. I mean, because they're going to have an interim
even
coach.
Even if you beat Tennessee.
They're terrible. They're terrible.
Yeah, if you beat Tennessee, you would be finishing 6-6 if you lost to Arkansas.
Right.
And if you lose to Tennessee and you're 5-6 going into Arkansas, not good. But Arkansas just got whipped by Western Kentucky.
Oh, yeah, all day long.
Right from the start. How far is Arkansas falling?
Probably if somebody's like 18 years old and they just are starting college and they're into college football, they probably just have no idea that Arkansas has had a pretty good football program in there.
Really good. Really good.
A fine football program
Brett
overall.
Bielema, yeah, overall, but even recently.
Yeah.
Bielema was not there that long ago, and Bobby Petrino, before he got caught on a motorcycle and had the wreck, I mean, he was rolling there playing at a high level. I would call Brett Bielema back up if I'm the AD. Do you know what Brett Bielema is doing, if I'm not mistaken?
I don't know.
Helping out with the Patriots.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He's helping out with.
I remember.
Not a bad gig, but compared to being the head coach, Danny, Arkansas ought to get the checkbook back out and say, "I'm sorry that you gained a little weight and we looked at you a little differently, but man, you can coach. Can you come on back and resuscitate our program?"
That would be an upset.
That's what I'd be doing. I'd call him back. I mean, what did he do wrong? I mean, really? You only won 7 games one year, and maybe 8, and. And you have
better than losing to Western Kentucky.
And you're not as skinny as you used to be. I mean, what is this? We can't have that kind of mindset. Mark Mangino? I mean, come on. If they can coach, don't. Doesn't matter what they eat.
Stan Weber, each and every week. We'll have to adjust the schedule for Monday Night Football next time around. Stan, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Danny. Hopefully the Chiefs will win that game, because that is a big one. Big, big game for the Chiefs. And the whole nation, if you're just an NFL fan like me, no matter what game's on, and you're saying, why is this big? Look at the AFC West and go, Chargers, Chiefs, this is big-time football.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.